Hello, manifestation and trying to find a lover. That is the main thing I would say that most people are trying to use manifestation for. That and money, I suppose, career, all those financial things. But when you really dig into why people want to manifest money, why they want their career to go a particular way, it's really got a great deal to do with kind of feeling happy, feeling love in your heart, feeling at one with life. And that really, for a great many people, comes down to sort of whether or not they're in a relationship. And maybe that's kind of the first potential mistake, because there are so many different kinds of people, and that means there are so many different kinds of possible relationships. But there we go. Let's look at spiritual ways to manifest these things. I was going to call it 5 ways, but I actually think there are 6 ways. Number 1, write it down. Now, this is particularly good if you're into working with angels and that kind of energy. But it's actually very good even if you don't believe in any of that, because it kind of focuses your mind on what you'd like to bring into your life in the shape of this person, or maybe, other ways of bringing things into your life if that person is great but doesn't do certain things. And that is very realistic and very practical. But if you're going to write it down, right, write it all down. It's quite important. It can actually change, as we will come to in a minute. But if you're going to write it down, try and write everything down. Try and think of everything. I made a big mistake with this, a really big mistake, and I'll tell you exactly what it was. I'm doing this, or I was doing it at the time, with the idea of asking the angels for their help in manifesting the love of my life. And actually, they were very, very good at that, except for one thing. I never bothered writing down on my list that I didn't want this lady to be married already. I've just met so many women who were really good and seemed to be into me, and I seemed to be into them. But like they were married, and I just thought, well, we're asking the angels of God here, surely they're not going to break kind of church laws. Big mistake, because church laws are a very contrived thing and very different to the laws of the universe and the laws by which the angels work. They are pure light, they are pure love, but you've got to be absolutely specific. So if I was going to try that again, the first thing I'd write down is not married. Other things like not a psycho, well, that's a tricky one. Because maybe she isn't a psycho when you meet her, or maybe him. Sorry, I'm doing this very from a male point of view here at the moment. But yeah, maybe he or she isn't a psycho when you meet them. But it's quite possible that, if you guys don't get on too well, they will be a psycho by the time you're finished. I've experienced that in my own life as well. Listen to an old man. I've had loads of experiences. I really have. But write it all down. There was a relationship I was in, like 10 years ago or something, and it was a lady I met online, and it was the first time I'd ever tried to get together with another spiritualist who believes in all the same things that I do. That matters less than you might think, actually, because opposites can be pretty good, but we will come to that a bit further down the list. This lady, we got on really well. I hadn't actually deliberately tried to manifest her. I just liked the look of her and I liked talking to her. And we got it together and it was all very nice. But she told me that I was exactly what she'd written down, what she'd tried to manifest. Except for one thing. She really sort of asked for someone with long hair. She really thought that, if I had all these other qualities, I would have long hair. And as it happened, just before I got to know her, I had actually just gone in for this shave your head off look. And I did have really long hair just a couple of weeks before I met her. So that is just one of those things, because another thing I'm going to come to very shortly is travelling karma. Karma can kind of change, and the kind of person you're trying to manifest can change quite a bit in between the time you've kind of set about trying to manifest them and the time you eventually meet them. What I will say about all these things actually is that manifestation does work. It's much more than possible. Let me put that another way. It's much more possible than many people think it's going to be. But the way the universe hangs together, the way things work generally throughout the cosmos and in our world, which is actually the practical expression of all of those things, is actually very powerful, and we ignore it, and then we're wasting our time really. But write it all down, guys. Write down what you want, and be aware that the person might have changed a bit, but they might have been exactly what you wanted when you wrote it down. If so, well, life is change, and whoever you manifest is going to change, and that is actually all going to be part of the way you guys actually are together, the way it works between you. Okay, so that's write it down and write it all down. The other thing is write it up. Now, this can be a bit of a mistake, really. You have to do this very carefully. I've never tried it this way because, frankly, I don't think it would work, but write it up. And what I really mean there, I suppose, is kind of either big up yourself or big up your expectations. There's not a great deal of point bigging yourself up because eventually you're going to meet the person, and you really don't want to sort of have over-egged what you want to have. But, life is going to be changing, and think about where you actually want to be in 5 years down the line. How is this person that you're trying to manifest actually going to cope with that, actually going to relate to that? And I'll go into another experience that I had even longer ago than that, believe it or not. And it was when I met the mother of my children. And yeah, we were both fairly extreme hippies. I certainly hadn't cut my hair off then. But we got together and it was all kind of pretty good. And then I heard from a priest from the local church, and he was looking for an organist. And in those days, I was fairly regularly a classical organist, and I could do that kind of thing. And so I said yes, because, we had 2 kids and we needed the money coming in, and it was a good bit of money for playing the church organ. Just really every Sunday in the odd choir practice. So I said yes, and it was a very traditional, old-fashioned sort of church. So to make it work, I would put my suit on. And she actually said to me one day, I got together with a hippie, and now it's church every Sunday with a suit on, and everyone in the village seems to respect you and stuff. And that kind of scared the life out of her, and it was one of the things that knackered our relationship, I think, if I'm really honest about the way it went. So it comes down to the same thing again, people can change. And that is point number 3, traveling karma. Basically in anything, whether it's manifestation of love or nothing at all to do directly with manifestation as far as you know, because everything is something to do with manifestation, it really is. But karma, basically, if you've got karma coming to you, but you learn the lesson, then when the karma arrives, it will have adjusted itself, and it won't be anything like as fierce as it might have been if it really needed to give you a knock on the head and sort of point you in the right direction. If you're already pointing in the right direction, karma is going to be gentler. I'm not going to say better exactly, but it's going to be happier. It's going to sit better with you, and there is going to be a good deal of karma in any relationship, really. The great Indian epic book thing isn't called the Kama Sutra for nothing. I'm not actually sure what sutra means. Let me know in the comments below if you do, because I would love to find out. Karma is certainly a big part of it, and it's always changing. And this is, again, playing into the thing that people change. Like, I'd cut my hair in the write it all down bit. I'd become someone. I hadn't changed at all, but I'd begun physically to look very different to the kind of person that my then girlfriend wanted to actually manifest and have in her life. And she certainly didn't sign up for being part of the Christian church in Wales, which is, it's very strongly what it is. And, so there were priests coming to the house. There were kind of very elderly people coming around with black Bibles and stuff. And, we had our rainbow pictures hanging up and that kind of thing. So I guess in a way, with travelling karma, it's about be careful what you wish for, because things are going to change going forward. And don't be fooled by appearance, right? This is number 4, compatibility. Compatibility is really kind of, in some ways, it's all in the mind, because things are going to change as you go forward. For example, if you're looking at me and seeing my guitar there and thinking, oh, this guy's obviously, likes his guitar and stuff, and smokes pot and stuff. Well, I don't smoke pot, and I used to play the guitar a lot, but I haven't played it for a long time now, and that is really not part of my makeup. I put it in the picture just because like there'd be a big expansive white wall there. In fact, hang on, let's just bring the dream catcher in there. That looks a bit better, doesn't it? I do believe in dream catchers, I'll say that. But appearance, beliefs, that kind of thing, incompatibility, do opposites attract? They say opposites attract, but then again, Years and years ago, I worked in a crystal shop, and the lady that ran it used to say, "Well, like is always drawn to like, always." And I just, yeah. So, I mean, there's a lot of truth in that. There really is. No getting away from that one. But either opposites attract or like attracts to like. It's one thing or the other, And okay, it can go both ways. It most certainly can. But when you actually meet someone and begin a relationship, it is very definitely going to be one way or the other at any given time. It can change, It can go both ways in the space of like 2 hours, but hopefully it won't. And in terms of compatibility as well, there are different kinds of. Got bad shadows here, so let me just change that. That's better. There are different kind of ways of going about having a relationship that all play into compatibility as well. I've just actually today been talking to a man, and he's a great guy. Actually, I think he'd be a great catch for any woman. But strangely, he is actually on and off with a lady all the time. I think they're back on because he's just gone rushing off in his car, having kind of rather depressedly said he was going to be stuck here for the duration. And in all the years I've known this couple, they split up, and it's hopeless. It's just hopeless. There's no way we could get back together. And a couple of weeks later, it's all back on and everyone's happy again, That's just the way it goes. And different people feel that in different ways. I know that the guy I was talking to, although it twangs his heartstrings and he never seems a very happy person when they split up, it seems to be part of the dynamic that actually keeps their relationship together, keeps it working. In a relationship, these are quite old people because I tend to know quite old people, but I'm giving you the voice of experience here. That's the whole point of it. They somehow, it's been like maybe 10, 20 years between those two. I'm not sure how long, but certainly more than 10 years. And that's the dynamic they found that works. But when you're young, and I go back to when I was young, I really couldn't stand relationships where it was all on one minute and all off the next. Some people kind of live from crisis to crisis. They say the best part of breaking up is making up. Well, there's a lot of truth in that, actually. But I don't like to break up once a fortnight, once a week, once a month, whatever. If I'm with someone, I want to kind of stay with them. That's my whole plan. That's the whole point of it. But on the other hand, it really works for some couples. And I was aware of this. Mates of mine, when I was young, would be quite happy in relationships like that. People tend to look at star signs in terms of spiritual manifestation around compatibility, but it doesn't always work. I was a performer donkeys years ago. I had this mobile disco thing that I was always out with if I wasn't playing an instrument somewhere. And that kind of gave me that showiness that a lot of Leos have. But actually, I'm a Sagittarius, and that really came out in the relationship that I got into with a Leo who's a very good-looking young lady who really made a play for me. And her being a Leo, I thought, oh, well, this will be cool because she'll kind of get on with the general exhibitionist sort of tendencies that I have. But actually, she's a very different kind of Leo. She was quite exhibitionistic, but she tended to exhibit her heart on her sleeve, and she had a bit of a thing about being down all the time, and that turned into one of those things where there was an argument every 5 minutes, and it actually went on and off for 30 years, would you believe? 30 years, and all we ever really have done is wind each other up, and we haven't spoken for quite a long time now. Yes, I'm over 30. I'm over 46. Can you even believe that? But there we go. Does like always attract like? Maybe it does, but it's somehow in the real world there's a definite attraction between opposite people and opposite types of people. And, there are as many types of people as there actually are types of relationship. So that's one to think very carefully about when you get back to writing it all down, which is really what it's all about. I'm also going to put in dreams at this point. I was going to make it a top 5, but it's turning into a top 6. Dreams really can be quite misleading in some ways because they do actually come through the subconscious mind while we're asleep, and we don't really have any kind of handle. And that's why we so often feel helpless in dreams. You're trying to run away from something, and your body actually can't run anywhere because you're completely asleep. I really strongly believe that we get a lot of spiritual communication in dreams, and that dreams have a lot of kind of cosmic meaning for us. But that's not exactly what I'm getting into here. To give an example of a dream that I once had, and I didn't need to, I'm always telling people, write your dreams down, and that might help as you're looking for a lover, actually. But I never wrote this one down. I wasn't looking for a lover anyway. I never wrote this one down, but I've never forgotten it. I was with this lady, and I couldn't see her face at all. She always had a hood on. And she was really good at getting us into kind of buildings that we couldn't normally get into, and getting us free stuff that was worth a lot of money. And this was just one dream, but in the dream it was as if we were together for years, going all through these different kind of scenes together. And in the end, there was this very expensive restaurant, the kind of restaurant that Gordon Ramsay, who I think is known pretty well around the world now, the kind of restaurant Gordon Ramsay would work in, very, very expensive, kind of $1,000 to cough sort of thing. And she got us in there, and somehow we got the food. And then I noticed she wasn't eating any of the food, and she kept making excuses and sort of going out of the room and stuff. And I began to think, well, I am a spiritualist, and I was a spiritualist then as well when I was having this dream. Is this kind of person actually real, or have I sort of met someone in very physical looking form who is actually from the other side of the veil? And that was when my mind started ticking over, and somehow we were in this very posh restaurant. It was all red and gold and white fittings. Everything in it was very, very expensive, and it was solid gold as well, not just kind of fake gold fittings. And so we went upstairs, which always shows some kind of ascension and, coming onto a new level, and actually getting a little bit higher up in terms of the chain of what you're actually trying to do. And I said to her, look, you're not going to turn out to be a dead person, are you? And she sort of took her hood off, and she was a very beautiful looking woman, actually. And I thought she was going to say, of course not. She gave me this sympathetic look, and she said, yes, I'd better leave it for a while. You just have a think. I'm just going to go outside for a minute. You have a think. And the next time I saw her, she really did look kind of dead and rotten, and she absolutely turned to dust, and it was really scary. Wow, dreams, that kind of thing can kind of put you off. A thing like that we say in spiritual practices that it can close your third eye off a little bit if you have a scary thing like that. But you've got to kind of fight through that somehow. And I know a lot of people are getting dreams like that as we go through the big shift into 2020. But take notice of them. Okay, I never really got thoroughly to the bottom of that dream, but it told me something actually about compatibility, which we were on about a second ago. I don't really know how it stacks up, because I've never actually met a dead person in real life so that they looked kind of solid and everything. But it just showed me that, nothing is what you think it is. And I dare say something of my subconscious mind was playing into my beliefs about relationships, because this was the greatest relationship ever in the dream. So I thought. So that's dream. The other side of it is all the different kinds of divination you can do around trying to manifest a lover, using the tarot and oracle cards. That's one I'm very familiar with, because I do a lot of readings for people. And if you want a reading, by the way, send me an email. An email. That's the thing, to 35and83@gmail.com. That is 35and83@gmail.com. I should never have called myself And, should I? It's just that my name's Andy, so that's what ends up happening. But people get it mixed up with the and sign. It's not 35and83@gmail.com. I wasn't born in 1935, and I wasn't born in 1983. That's just the way it hangs together. Some lucky numbers there. But then again, anything to do with luck. Luck is incredibly a good thing when it happens, but I wouldn't make it the be-all and end-all. I wouldn't make it the most important thing and just hope you're going to be lucky, and the next woman you meet or the next man you meet is going to be exactly the one you want. It never works out quite like that, especially if they look and feel like exactly what you want, because there will be other differences somewhere along the line. So beware. I'm coming up with all kinds of things here, but I'm trying to be reasonably funny and light-hearted about it because really great things have happened to me with women that I've hoped to manifest and have ended up with. Just, you know, as I was saying, when you write it all down, write absolutely everything down, and visualize and believe, I suppose, is the other side of that. If you can't really believe it's going to happen, then manifestation isn't the way for you. You might as well just wait and see if you really can't believe it. But hey, number 6, going for it. What are you actually going to do? That is the big question, because maybe you'll meet the one, or maybe you'll meet someone that you feel sure is the one. But how are you going to kind of get him or her to actually be with you, to actually become a real thing? Somehow, eventually you're going to have to actually go for it, ask the questions, and if you shy away from that, excuse me, no amount of manifestational energy, no amount of divination, no amount of tarot readings, writing it down, understanding karma, bigging yourself up, dumbing yourself down, none of that is going to mean a damn thing if you aren't actually someone who can stand up and go for it. And that is going to mean having to accept a certain amount of change in your life. It is bound to. If you're just trying to manifest kind of someone who goes along with absolutely anything you say, I have actually been with someone like that, and I didn't try to manifest her, but it's just like everything I said, go. And whatever I said, sometimes I'd ask for her advice and she'd say, well, you know best. It becomes lonely like that. It really does. So have it about yourself if you possibly can, to go for it, to get stuck in there. If you're a shy, retiring person, just try chatting to more people. You know, it doesn't mean you've got to go to bed together or anything like that. You can just chat to people, get better at chatting to people, taking your turn in the conversation, that kind of thing. These are all very practical things to be talking about in a video about manifestation, but that is really the other side of manifestation, is when you actually manifest it, what's actually going to happen. And you are going to have to take into consideration all the stuff of life, everything that matters to you, and here's the killer, everything that matters to the other person as well. It's just no good to try and be in charge of a thing and to run the whole thing and rule the whole thing yourself. Sometimes people manage that and you find that the other person has actually gone very quiet because they've never been able to be themselves. And that is the most important thing in spirituality, particularly to manifest love, but to manifest anything. And just to be on your spiritual path and have any kind of success, you really need to be yourself, to keep it real and to actually be yourself. Well, friends, I'm going to leave it there. Thanks for watching. Thumbs up, please, if you've enjoyed it. Leave me a comment. We'll share the journey. Don't forget to subscribe. It's down there somewhere. It says subscribe. Hit that subscribe button. Tap the bell that then comes up. And if I was you, I'd hit the top one of the drop-down menu. God, it's complicated, isn't it? But life is complicated. So is love. So are relationships. So are absolutely everything else that goes on in life, really and truly. So yeah, thanks again for watching. Anyone wants a reading, 35and83 at gmail.com. And I'll see you again very soon. Peace.